see somebody that went 0 for 2 on 2 days in a row, that's a phone call. And the reason for that is if I see them 0 for 4, that's their fault. But if they're 0 for 5, whose fault is that?
It's your fault.
That's my fault.
So that's interesting because what I heard you just say is before you can challenge somebody, you got to show them you care. I heard you say those words. So it's not about challenging and accountability as much as it is show them you care first. And then once you show them you care, then you can look to bring them to the next level. Then you could challenge them. Is that what I heard?
Well said. Well said. I think they'll listen to you. They do listen to you. They listen to you more when they realize that you care both their highlights and you want them to get a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have to, besides just making them want to get better, you have to have those highlights. Because if they don't highlight, and sometimes I miss some highlights on some guys too. But that's why I focus on that 3 to 1. Sometimes, you know what? I've been kind of cranky at this guy for a little bit. I need to find a couple highlights. Nice sale, nice this. I mean, I look at sales numbers every single day, Kevin. I send them on the email. And the two things I do on the big day, text, great job. And I realized that next morning that if I see somebody that went 0 for 2 on 2 days in a row, that's a phone call. And the reason for that is if I see them 0 for 4, that's their fault. But if they're 0 for 5, whose fault is that?
That's your fault.
That's my fault. I have to get them back going. Something's wrong. Something is different. It might be their process. It might be their attitude. It might be something personal. There's something going on because all my guys shouldn't go 0 for 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that because I think I shared with you, I recently sat through a conference where there was a woman that spoke about a very, very successful CEO. And some might think that she was such a hard charger. And her message to us was, he or she who cares the most wins. So it's right in line with what you're talking about, which is, and she went on to say that caring is a secret weapon for top managers. And it's a lot of times it's forgotten. And that manager that can care and show they care is the one whose team is going to stick with them, whose team is going to want to continue to get better, whose team is going to want to continue to progress and grow. And that's what I'm hearing you say.
For sure.
Agree on anything else?
For sure. Yeah, and part of that 0 for 4 is I'm not going to call you Kevin, you're 0 for 4. That's not how the phone call goes for sure. It's just a random. I haven't talked to you a couple of days. What's going on? And they're going to talk about how bad those 4 calls were. And we're just going to talk it out. How could you just hold that last one? What about that second one? What about that third? And I already know. I saw some of the notes. I saw their QN note, which is their reason they didn't sell it. I know what they said. I kind of sometimes, I'll even know more. I do a lot of the recovery and calls to make sure what the client really said from them. But it's just hey, haven't talked to you a little bit. What's going on? And I let them vent, and they'll figure out their own solution. I'll help them figure out their own solution.
Yes,
but they're very good at finding out their own solution.
It's kind of like, Andrew, it's kind of like what I've learned is great people. Mark is a great person. He doesn't need to be managed. Great people don't need to be managed. They really don't. Sure, they need to be guided. Sure, they need to be led at times. Most of the time, they're their own leaders. They're the self-starters. And I that is so true for top salespeople, because top leaders like Mark, when they're struggling, they're beating themselves up way more than I could ever beat them up. He's already done it. He's already beat himself up. So there's no need for me as a manager to beat him up. It's quite the opposite. It's like I got to actually pick him up and just remind him how great he is when he's been struggling. It's like that 0 for 4 person. You know, if they've had a history of success, which of course many of the people that Mark and the salespeople he's hired have had a history of success. Let me assure you, they're already taking care of the beating themselves up. Manager just shows that they care and that they're concerned and that they know what's going on too. The fact that you just know.
Just know.
Just know. And they know you know.
They know I know.
They know you know. Yes.
So what I wanted to ask you, so like the interview process being what your process right now, you're sort of qualifying a potential hire, right? Obviously, it's an interview. But the reason why you ask some of these like tougher questions is like kind of like, hey, we're going to have a big boy job. Let's see if you can handle it. They get through. Somebody is 0 for 4, or they're just having a rough go at it. Or maybe you just see them and like, hey, man, you need a little extra kick right now. Like, what's going on? How do you know how much to push on that employee or that team member?
Sure.
Because again, like I feel like with some of the hard questions during the interview process, a manager might be thinking, well, I don't want to push them away. But we're beyond that point. Like I think you probably don't want that person on your team anyway if a couple of questions makes them head for the hills, right? But now they're hired. They're like, dang, this guy's so solid. I don't want to push him too hard. How do you balance that very, very thin line?
I have a great analogy that all 62 people I mentioned have heard this. You're a freshman. I'm not expecting you to be the starter right now. I'm not expecting you to be all league sports guy. It's the sports guy mentality in me. I'm not expecting you to be the best guy today, but I do need you to be the best guy when you're a senior. Right now, you're a freshman. You were a freshman in high school?
Right, of course, yeah.
Things are tough. You don't know the cafeteria, what girls are cool. The jersey don't even fit. So you're not going to be you're not going to start. You have to, we're working our way up. It's natural. It's natural that there's a struggle right here. But let's solve this struggle because it's going to happen again. And they get better. And then you're a sophomore and you're a junior. And pretty soon it's just, now they're a senior and now they're senioritis. And we're going back the other way. Now we're going back to sometimes your phrase OFP at time. Now, I know more. Now I know too much. They don't say too much, but I know everything. You don't know everything. There's still more after there's a job after you're a senior. There's a college after there's still more. And just making sure what's your next more.
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, all 62 have been a freshman. They have all been freshmen.
Mark just mentioned OFP. It's a term that we use around here, and we're going to have Mark actually share about it in a second. Sometimes we get salespeople that go OFP. They're on their own effing plan. They're on their own effing plan. And that might work in some companies. You just have to be clear with them that here, that will never work. You can make a lot of money. You can have a wonderful career. You can be very satisfied with this job. Yet if you think you can go OFP, it's probably a better place for you. And we're going to come back to Mark in a minute and talk about how you deal with that when somebody's gone OFP, because they do.
Sure.
Maybe it's that senior you're talking about that, has got senioritis, or they forget what made them so great.
And that's where the process is important, because you manage the rule, not the exception. And when they start going OFP, it's typically the exception worked for them. Something is different. The exception worked. This is going to work next time. But in sports, it's blocking and tackling that works.
Oh boy. I gotta share an analogy, because you just There's one here where you get a salesperson that continuously quotes one-legged appointments. And the reason they quote a one-legged appointment, and what I'm talking about is when maybe just the wife is there and the husband is yet to sit through the presentation, and all of a sudden you get a salesperson that quotes a one-legged appointment, only the spouse, like I said, or one of the spouses there, and he sells it. I am absolutely convinced that that is the work of the devil. When that one-legged appointment sells, it's the work of the devil. Because then the salesperson thinks, oh, I got one. So now they start quoting one-legged appointments every time when, they got one 40 times ago. So that's why I think it's always so, you got to be very careful to know that when it was the exception,
Correct.
Not the rule. That was an anomaly. And as I said, in fact, selling a one-legged appointment is the work of the devil. It is going to come back and haunt you and bite you over and over again and take away income from you, take away job satisfaction, because what you're supposed to do there is, reset the appointment. Make it so you can get both people there.
Yep. And there's a second reason they do that.
Tell me.
And a big part of my manage to help them not make that decision is they're 0 for 1 today. And they feel like now, because I didn't sell this today, I'm going to have I mentioned I send the scorecard out every single day. Mark's going to put me 0 for 1. So let me just see if this works with Mrs. here without Mr. But again, man is the rule, not the exception. Had you reset, now you're 0 for 1, and the Mrs. said no. How are we going to sell it? Whichever FSR, salesperson, how are we going to sell it? Well, it wasn't my fault. It was just that we should have had both people there. Well, we tried.
Whose job is it now?
We definitely asked for both people to be there. But now how are we going to sell it? And sometimes they focus so much on their stats, and my job is the stats are going to be at your performance over time, not one call. Your stats are over time. So how are you going to sell Mrs. Alone? You're going to sell Mrs. Alone a lot better when you reset it, making her want to reset it. Because if you make her want to reset it, now she doesn't want to buy from you at all.
We're really talking about what I think is the foundation of a small business, driving sales and the sales engines in these home services business. Let's get into some of the foundational beliefs, the things that Mark believes are the most critical to jumpstart your sales engine.
I look for the right guys